Thank you for joining us today. Anything you hear in this podcast is not to be taken for medical advice. This podcast is for information purposes only, and should you find something interesting in the information spoken about, please consult your physician further.
Hello, welcome to the Broken Road Podcast. I'm your host, Trent Peterson, joined today by Colby Stickney. How you doing, Colby?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Colby, you got quite the story. I brought you on today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We'll just get started that way and then go from there.
So my name's Colby. I am 31 and I have a husband named Matthew and two kids, Bradley and Chasey. And we didn't grow up in Stephenville, but we lived here for about 8 years. I'm a travel agent. I own my own business and I work in the dermatology office as a clinic supervisor.
Wow. Sounds like you're pretty busy.
Yes.
So is how old are the kids?
Bradley's 11 and Chasey is 8.
Oh, yeah. So wife, mother, entrepreneur, and you're working as a nurse at a dermatology
Yes.
clinic. Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. I like to stay busy.
I get that. That's cool. So you had a little hitch in your story last year, right?
Yeah. So last year in February, I got diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer.
Wow.
And so I had to go through several treatments and lasted all year. And then in November, I was cleared.
How you look so great. That's amazing. I know that we go to church together. There's a lot of details that we're going to probably get into on that I want to talk about. But just to get it started right, how did your faith play into that whole part of your journey?
Man, my faith was like my anchor. So whenever I got diagnosed, like I kind of was like, my world shook. But it was like after that, some of the elders from church came and prayed over us, and our re-engaged group came and prayed over us, and it just kind of made me feel so much more peaceful.
So were you going through re-engage and when you found that?
So we actually started re-engage in 2023. So right before I got diagnosed, we did it in the fall. So I think that was kind of our foundation of setting us up to get through gracefully as a team of last year.
Yeah, that's, I can't imagine. I know we went through a lot of hard times, Amber and I did through my event. For a woman, that's a lot. I think that's a detrimental disease that as far as what it's doing in our culture and what a woman has to go through. I can't, obviously, men get diagnosed with breast cancer as well. So I personally hadn't met anybody that has, but I know that it does exist. But for the most part, it's mostly prevalent with women. So I guess let's just start with the beginning, from the diagnosis and just kind of work through up to today and where we're at now.
Okay. So whenever I got diagnosed in February, it was kind of back in December that I went in and got checked, and they didn't really think anything of it. And so I went back in February and got some scans, and they called me the next day. I was with my best friend at the time, Sam, and they were like, are you driving? I was like, yeah. She was like, you might want to pull over. So I just kind of instantly knew that it was being diagnosed with breast cancer. I just didn't know the aggression of it. And so it was already stage 3. So after that, I met with my oncology team and went through 16 rounds of chemo, 25 rounds of radiation, and a double mastectomy, and immunotherapy for 12 weeks. And so that was, it was pretty tough back then, but now looking back, like, it's just like, it was more easy to go through it because the community we had.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's super important. The people that you're surrounded by, and it's proven that that's also very integral for most people's recovery from anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is their faith in the community that surrounds them. I work with a lot of people that don't have anybody for them. That's why we're doing what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Is because nobody
Nobody
had to feel that
to go through that alone, for sure, or anything hard in life.
Right. No. And they're not. They're not alone, even when you seem like you're totally alone. You're never totally alone. But having that community and that love surrounding you is huge.
For sure.
So being a mother, let's just start there with that kind of diagnosis. I mean, what was that like?
So that was pretty hard. Like we didn't really want to tell the kids like what was going on, but our son is kind of older. That he's like, okay, like what is really going on? So we kind of told him everything, and most people think like cancer diagnosis just thinks like it's like the end times, and so we had to explain to him that like God had His hand on us, and He was going to be there for us, and that everything will be okay. And so to them, in their little eyes, like everything looks fine.
See, I struggled with that a lot. Amber and I did whenever I was in the hospital myself on how to handle that with River. That was hard. Wasn't really sure. I didn't want to break his little spirit, So that was a hard thing. And it was cool because a nurse came in and I told her what we were dealing with. And she said, look, first of all, kids are super resilient. They bounce back way quicker than we do as adults. They kind of fly by the seat of the pants, And I mean, that's one super awesome thing about them. It's also what will wear you out, but it is awesome. And she said, it's going to be hard to shield him from it. Obviously, I was in the hospital already. But she said one thing that we didn't want to do in our case was tell him that I was sick and leave it at that, because then the fear of him every time he got sick was that he's going to end up in the hospital or be hooked up to all these machines, which was really neat that she was able to show us that way. So in our case, we were just really blunt. This is the best way he could understand it. Your dad had a stroke, and
yeah. And it's kind of like with kids, you just make it like simple. Like my kids never thought anything about it because again, the community we had that like just came and picked them up or took them to do fun things while I was doing treatment. Like, I think that helped a lot. And it's just cool to see like every night at dinner, we would pray and Chasey would pray, please keep my mom healthy.
I know that's going to be hard. I'm kind of curious, jumping ahead to now, when we will go back, I want to walk through some other parts of that. Something else I deal with, but do you find yourself struggling sometimes, even though we do have faith and we do speak life in our story? I do find myself falling back into a worry that I'm gonna have another stroke. Do you find yourself worrying about that any, or?
Yeah, the worry is always there, but I just know like whatever happens, like God will still have His hand on me. And even from the beginning of this story, like I said, God's going to use it for good. And not that it's good that other people have breast cancer, because it's not, but I'm glad that I can be like kind of an advocate for them.
Absolutely. I went and talked to a group of people at Baylor last week. I think I was kind of visiting with you about that before that. But one of the questions I was asked, and it was an awesome moment, to be able to do that for the first time in my life. Like, man, I've done a lot of things, but right now I feel like I'm doing the most important thing I've ever done. But she asked me, one of the survivors up there said, what is your drive? How do you stay motivated? Knowing that you could fall back into that spot again or end up back here with us. What's your drive? I said, Jesus Christ and the saving grace. I said, there's no way I would be here today without Him. I said, and He got a hold of me. I was trying to do my own thing, trying to roll my own life, and He got a hold of me and gave me an opportunity. I said, so my drive is to make sure and be able to share that with y'all, and not waste the time that I got left.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. Like, even in the Bible, like it says God works all things for good. Like He's never going to try to harm us, and it's always for something good, even if we don't see it at the time.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's hard to see the good to that. That's a thick forest, with what you went through, to maintain being positive and golly, like I said, you got a lot of hats. Were you running your travel business at the same time?
I was, there was sometimes like I just wouldn't take new clients. So my clients didn't really know what I was going through unless they knew me personally, because I just wanted to keep work and personal life separate. But there was times that I was like, hey, I'm sorry, like I can't book your trip right now. And I just recently announced like that I did have breast cancer to my travel agency business, and people are just very understanding. So
Well, I mean, it's something it's important to talk about. I'm glad that you came on today. Shows a lot of strength. And I'm super proud of you. And like I said, when we started, you look great. So I mean, it's awesome. God's blessed you and me as well. So awesome. And super cool.
yeah. And it's crazy because like sometimes going to chemo, I mean, they'd be long days. They'd be like 8 hours long. And if my best friend Sam would go, like it would almost feel like we're just getting to have a girls' day, like not as fun of a girls' day, but we got to just sit and laugh. And like even whenever my husband Matthew would go with me, like it's like, oh, we're getting to spend time together, but not the type of time we want to spend together, but it's still like valuable time and meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Every minute starts to look a lot different when you survive something like that. Um, I'm sure it was pretty hard on Matt too, and I want to have him in eventually. Like I was telling you yesterday, I'd kind of like to highlight caregivers. I think they're really important. Was he able to support you in the way you
Yeah, he
needed to?
played a crucial role in supporting me. I mean, at first I was like, I don't think he can do it. Like I'm kind of like under, grounding him, and he just stepped up to the plate, and he was so good at like taking care of me and making sure everything else was taken care of that he knew was like meant a lot to me. Like, from changing my cold cap to cleaning the house to like making sure the kids are fed.
They're reading and doing some research just in general. Excuse me, on recoveries and survivors' journeys. Men actually end up using. I mean, it's there. You can find it, read it. They end up doing better in that role of caretaker than women do, which is strange because a woman is a natural born caretaker. But there is something different about a man whenever he loses his strength and all that. Amber has done very well for me. It's not been easy. I take it harder. I think that's part of it too. Is just like kind of like the man flu or whatever, to make light of it. But I have read that men end up doing a really good job being caretaker. But it's hard. I'm sure it was for him seeing his person that's usually shuffling the kids off to school and feeding dinner and doing all these things that a mother and wife does. And then all of a sudden he's thrown into that role for both of you.
Yeah, he did great. And I mean, again, like the foundation of doing Reengage, like that was kind of like our lion to fight Goliath. And so it was cool because his faith grew tremendously too over the last year.
Yeah. God is good. It's an amazing thing the way it works. It's another thing. Try to mention a whole lot. Then a lot of people lose their faith during something like that, where we get mad at God, and it's a tendency to want to shake your fist, and say, "Why me?" But God didn't do that, And the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's in there. This is just our earthly body, for a lack of better words. My friend calls it a meat bag, So, and going to that kind of makes me think. Something else I wanted to visit with you about was this skin that we're walking in. Through doing research, I think we were talking about it, but every year the breast cancer diagnoses are coming back and increasing at 1% per year. That's alarming, and that's under 50 as well, from what I read. I'm sure you probably can tell us better. They say part of it. Uh, I didn't read anything that was very hopeful on the young diagnosis. In general, the overall diagnoses are also increasing, and they say that's because we are living longer. Well, I can kind of believe part of that, but in your opinion, how come it's being diagnosed in younger women these days?
I think it's honestly just like the toxins that are in our body soaps and our lotions and our smelly good stuff that we always want to wear. I just think that none of that is really actually good for us because of all the products they put in it. Sometimes foods that we eat, I think that triggers some of the types of breast cancer as well. And anything that we drink or, just anything we're surrounded by, like we're just living in like a toxic bubble pretty much. It's hard to find like good, clean products.
Yeah, and it actually costs more to live that way. But I did say on one of the other podcasts, you know, if you figure up how much it cost, I mean, how much was it for one treatment of chemo?
It was about $128,000 that they were charging my insurance.
So, I mean, obviously that's an inflated cost, but there's still a lot of cost in it. Your health costs a lot of money. So you start looking at like lost time, all these things that cost money, and the amount of money that you spend to live a little healthier really is worth it.
Yes, I think, because we only have one body that we get to live in on earth for our whole life. So I think that making sure we try to take care of it, eating clean, working out, and just trying to avoid those products as much as we can, or like toxic food. I know it's hard and it's like just you kind of got to balance it. Like, not saying just cut out everything.
I'm drinking out of a plastic bottle. I mean, honestly, it's probably be a glass right here,
Yeah.
But
It's hard.
you're surrounded by it.
You're surrounded and it's convenient to be able to have that type of stuff. So you got to kind of choose between convenience or like you want to make sure your health is top priority.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, I was, I don't know, I say this a lot too. I was kind of rambunctious and I went really hard on my body. I wasn't very good at myself. And looking back, and I always thought, man, I'm gonna die in a blaze of glory. Don't think that what happens if you don't. You go through an experience like you did, and you survive it, and you gotta still push through. You got the rest of your life to live, hopefully, and live it better. But I mean, there's other things. I mean, sometimes you survive through these things, and hopefully come out stronger on the other side. I'm saying that for the younger people, basically, to take care of themselves. Do some research. Internet's great now. There's a lot of information to be had out there. You do have to be careful on it. I mean, we got a disclaimer. There's neither one of us are. Well, actually, you are in the profession. I am not a doctor. You have to be careful. There's a lot of false information out there as well. But it is pretty easy to find out the things that do harm you in a way to live a healthier, cleaner life.
Yeah. And I think for like younger people, like we don't think like, we don't think about when we're 50, like what we're doing now is going to affect us in 30, 40 years. Like we're just like, we're living for the moment. And so I think whenever something like that happens, I know for me that it was like, I want to make sure like I live through this and like I'm going to change everything that I do and be more healthy so I could be here for my kids when they have kids and just look at long-term life instead of just living for short-term.
Absolutely. So you're a nurse. What's your credentials there?
At LDN, and I work in dermatology.
Okay. So, which is, was what you mentioned before. That's pretty interesting as well. That the products that we use, especially women, are poisoning them as well. So being in that profession kind of makes sense too, really, that you're able to kind of help them with skincare products that may be better for them and help them take care of their skin when they're having problems with something instead of putting things in there that are not good.
Right. And your skin is your largest organ. So it's like anything you put on your skin is going to be, dissolving into any part of your body. So.
Yeah, I mentioned that for, even with our well water, it's treated here. not with near as much water as in the big cities. So I feel for people that are there and don't realize. I mean, that every time they take a shower, they put fluorides and chlorine and all these things into their body. So I think before it's inevitable that eventually that stuff will be exposed to for what it is. They can only hide it for so long of the long-term effects of this modern living and convenience. That it kills us in worse ways, or doesn't kill us, and we survive. Either way, it's just
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're kind of trying because the red dye stuff is getting, banned for kids, which is great because you can tell a big difference in kids, like whenever they eat a lot of red dye versus whenever they don't. And they're just like, oh, here you go. Here's some more poison for you. So I think they're trying to help us, but they're also not. So it's like a 50-50 or maybe more of like a 75-25.
I think that boils down to advocacy. It really,
Mm-hmm.
there's people out there that are making enough noise now that those things are getting boiled down and brought out. But I really think that if the internet wasn't as easy accessible to everybody, and there wasn't at that level of advocacy that we have now,
Mm-hmm.
they would keep going because there's money to be had, not
Yes.
only in using that red dye because it's an attractive color to people. I mean, there's a whole
Mhm.
science to that in psychology, but also the ongoing cost of healthcare. I mean,
Right.
there's a driving train of that. There's no, and I'm hoping you feel the same, but there's not really any healing that they're trying to do.
No,
of the
they're just
sickness.
trying to make money.
Right. Yeah. There's a maintenance. I mean, the maintenance plan. If they totally fix you, then where's the money in that? And I do believe that there are some doctors and people in the healthcare profession that honestly do want to make that change, that understand that the pitfalls of that industry. And at the same time, I think that money and greed drives a whole bunch of it.
I think so too, for sure.
It's weird. I think I see it more now than ever. Obviously, I didn't spend a lot of time going to the doctor, but now it's like, okay, everybody's going to get their piece of the pie and get money from the insurance company, and everybody's charging everybody. It's like, well, okay, we know you have this, but we need to send you over there real quick. You're going to get a referral to go to this person. So you got to go back and talk to this person. Then you get your referral, and you're going to go talk to that person. And that person will say, well, okay, I can do this, but I need you to go see this person, which is probably their buddy too. So
Yes.
before you know it, you've gone through like 10 people.
Yeah.
So
I
frustrating.
think insurance is just a big circle of lies. Like, I mean, yes, we need it for especially whenever big things happen. But whenever you're trying to get things done pretty quickly, it's just like, oh, well, I don't know. Do you really need that? And it's like, you're not the provider. Like, you don't know. So it's like, they're just making a big circle of it.
Yeah. Well, and you're also dealing with somebody behind a desk that's not anywhere close that has a number. You're a number. You're not Colby Stickney. You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
And they're dealing with it all day long. So they probably have less empathy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if you do get somebody that does have it, it's because somebody in their family or somebody directly related to them is going through an issue, and they're dealing with it too, because everybody deals with it at some point.
Yeah. And I think that's with me, like working in the medical field, like it's made me definitely more passionate because somebody's always going through something. And whenever I was going through everything and it was just like a receptionist or like insurance or even nurses, like just were like, oh, here you go. Like it was just no compassion or like no empathy going towards what you're going through. And regardless of everybody's gone through something every single day. Like they might not show it on
Absolutely.
the outside, but they're definitely going through something. So it's like also taught me to like show more grace as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I interviewed my physical therapist from Baylor a couple of weeks ago. We just released that. But that was one of my questions, and one of the questions I'll be asking to anybody in the medical field when they come in, is first of all, how do you juggle it? How do you compartmentalize your own personal life when you come to work day to day, especially people that are helping patients in recovery, because you are dealing with your own personal struggles and trying to help other people. So I think that is that's a good point for us in general, like as a community, as a world, is to remember that everybody's going through something and to have compassion and grace for each other.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy. I was very guilty of that. I'm busy. I'm doing my own thing. And if you're moving slow, get out of the way, because I got places to be and things to do it. And that my feet were swept out from underneath me. So my view on that's a lot different. And I'm hoping that I can share that with other people, along the way through this podcast and everything else that we're doing.
Yeah, and just like digging into my faith, I think it's just really important. Like, we should be loving people like Jesus does. Like, Jesus gets frustrated with me too, and he still shows me compassion. He doesn't just be like, sorry.
Yeah.
So I think that's how we should be towards other people. And so that's kind of made me like relook at things, because I haven't always been very patient with other people, and I just get frustrated easy. But now I'm like working on that because God's working through me.
Yeah. And that goes back to, like you said, there's always something in the works. So blessed to have that faith and to know that we're not alone and that we are loved, even on the worst days.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking back at my notes here real quick. We've talked about, I think, even some things that I did plan on talking about, but I still got some other questions. I'm just looking here. I'm at edit this part out. Let's see. It's all right. Yeah, I think we did go through, but we got plenty of time left. So let's go back to the after diagnosis and treatment. Let's go into a little bit more detail about the treatment, if you don't mind, and kind of like what that was, things that helped you.
So I started, obviously with some more scans, with lots of testing, and then I started chemo. I had a friend that unfortunately went through this a couple years before me, and so she gave me a lot of insight. So she was telling me how, because girls are vain, I'm vain, and I just wanted to keep my hair. And that was kind of one of the first things I thought of, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my hair. Like, I know it's silly to think of, but it's like a part of who you are. And so my friend, she was like, well, I did this cold cap. It's from the United Kingdom. She was like, it's 32 degrees below zero. You wear it during chemo and you wear it after. And so they kind of give you, in United Kingdom, you get like a representative, and they they ask you what type of chemo you're going to be on, and then that determines how long you wear the cap for the day. So this cap is in dry ice, and you always have to have somebody go with you, because you can't change your own cap because you're on drugs and you're sleeping and you're just not coherent enough to do it. And so we would stop every morning before chemo and get 50 pounds of dry ice and put our 3 caps in there. And 30 minutes to an hour before, my husband would put it on before chemo. And then during chemo, he would just change it every 20 minutes. My husband or Sam or my other 2 friends that had went with me, they would just spend their entire day just taking care of me, because you have to wear it for 8 hours after treatment as well.
Wow, what a blessing. Yeah, hair is beautiful. That's an amazing thing too. So that worked really well.
It did work. It worked pretty well. I did have some hair loss, but
right.
It was cool, because that was kind of another thing that I was like, oh, my husband's not going to care about this. Like, he doesn't care about hair, but he knew it was important to me. So
yeah, I think those things come out. I think, of course, the tendency from a survivor's viewpoint, I think I can, even though we went through separate things, is that you don't want everybody to fuss over you. It's like, man, you don't want what you're going through to affect everybody. But the truth
Right.
is that everybody around you is going through it with you. You just, it's hard to see it when you're in the middle of it. It's
Yeah.
like, man, I remember having a lot of guilt, but I was kind of just like, man, inconvenience in everybody.
Yeah. That was pretty how I felt too.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because, I mean, our church and our friends like blessed us like beyond like measure. And so it was cool because one of my friends was like, stop trying to block other people's blessing. Like it's their turn to bless you. Like it'll be your turn to bless people later on. So I thought that was like super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't want like people to do this. I don't need this. She's like, yes, you do. Like, she's like, this is our way of being there with you.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. I was speaking with a counselor the other day, and she was telling me, I still go through some stuff, but she was, and this, I think this kind of fits into what we're talking about, but then she goes, would you treat your best friend the way that you're treating yourself right now?
That's good.
And it took me a minute. I had to sit there and think about it. And she went a step further to say, to explain that a little better for me. It's just like, if your friend was going through the hardest thing they've ever gone through in their life, are you going to beat them down because they can't get up and go get something for themselves? And, are you going to tell them they need to hurry up and get better? And you got, to be busy. Would you do that to your best friend? I was like, no, I would never do that.
And that's a good way to look at
you're
it.
doing that to yourself. And I think all relationships really start with how you take care of yourself and how you be yourself. It's really hard to pour yourself into others if you've done that.
Yeah, if you feel like your cup is empty, like you can't pour into other people.
Right.
So it took a lot of reflecting. So it's like, they can like use this for somebody else. Like, I don't need it. Like, she was like, yes, you do. Like, you can't cook dinner tonight. Your husband's working all day. Like, let us just bless you with food, or let us come pick your kids up, or just anything like simple like that. Or let me just come sit with you for a little bit, like while you're home alone, and hang out with you. Or it was just it was so good and so like just good for like my recovery and being able to go through that, because I wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, you learn a whole nother level of humility in there too. That's hard to grab any other way or ever. I mean, some people are blessed with that humility and being humble, but most of us aren't just naturally that way.
Right.
And when you're held down like that, and people want to help you, it does humble you. I mean,
and I think one of the coolest things too was like we had people praying for us and like giving us stuff that we didn't even know, and now they're some of like our closer friends. So that was super, like, that was a good way of God showing us community too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, it's an amazing thing.
Back to like chemo treatments, like what I did to also help. So I also drank like 1.5 gallons of water the day of treatment. Like, I would be sleeping most of the time, but whenever Matthew would wake me up to like change my cap out, I would drink a whole bunch just to try to flush that out. And 24 hours later, I would go in and get a Myers IV bag just to get some vitamins to replenish my body. And I think that helped a ton.
So are those things that were recommended by the people giving you the treatment?
It wasn't recommended by my oncologist team. She kind of said that like vitamins, you don't need these, but the chemo is pretty much sucking all the vitamins out. And so this was actually recommended by my friend that had went through this treatment. And she said it helped her a lot. And so I tried it and it did help a lot. So I had a girl come to my house 24 hours after and give me an IV, and it was super helpful.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that goes back to that whole mention that there's a lot of conflicting information out there, but it does help. Unfortunately, I mean, there's always going to be other people. That's why you're speaking today. Is to hopefully help others, whenever they're researching things and they're not sure, what it does. And we can't say that that's going to work for every person.
Right.
But there's certain things that just make sense. It seems like I was telling you earlier, there's certain medicines I take that suck a whole lot out of my body. And it wasn't mentioned, hey, by the way, take this, supplement this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's made a huge difference in the way I feel, my energy levels, all of that. I'm not glad I was able to research that stuff,
Right.
and I've been able to share that with others. I just always have that disclaimer to you, hey.
Yeah, and that was another thing I did too during treatments to prevent neuropathy. I had ice packs on my hands and my feet. Sometimes I'd put my feet in dry ice because we didn't have any regular ice. It was terrible, but
Yeah.
it obviously worked because I had
What
very
did you
minimal.
protect your skin with?
We would just wrap like a towel around it, a couple of towels, and we'd bring an extra cooler and just stick my feet in the cooler full of ice. So people looked at us funny because they didn't know, especially in the infusion room. They were like, "What is she doing?" Like, I have a big, huge mushroom head. I have stuff on my hands. I have stuff on my feet, and I'm like wrapped in like heated blankets. And they're like, "What is going on?" So it was cool because we did get to share like what we were doing with other people, and they were like, "Wow, I didn't know that." And there was a couple of other people that were there for breast cancer, and they were like, "Well, I'm going to try that next time." And so it was pretty cool because I mean, I had very minimal side effects, and I started a harder chemo for 4 rounds, and it gives you really bad mouth sores. So I was told to eat like frozen fruit or ice like during the treatment just to freeze your like blood vessels so it didn't get to it. And I never had mouth sores, so that was a blessing also.
So do you think that outside of the United States that's something that they do more often, those treatments like that are actually combined together?
I think
Just
so
curious.
for sure. Especially like the cold capping. 'Cause there is companies here now, but they don't work as good as the ones in like the United Kingdom. And so I think their just medicine is like more advanced to healing you and not to take all your money and to be preventative and just maintenance.
Wow. Yeah, that's super frustrating, but it's awesome that you were able to look out and had somebody to hold your hand along the way and say, hey, these are some things I did that works for me. And chemo is such a hard poison on the body, and that whole process, I'm sure just the thought of having to do that for you was probably a little bit daunting when you first.
Yeah, I mean, even still, whenever I go into my oncology office to get checked, it's like I automatically just want to throw up. Like they said that it sends your brain like a signal, like, oh, you're about to put this poison in me. Like you could smell it. So they said like chemo patients, like you can smell it from a whiles away, and it's just like instantly you get sick. So pretty much every time I go in, I get sick.
When I mentioned that a whole lot, I think that's to a certain level. I'm not taking nothing away from veterans when I do say this. I got a lot of friends that have experienced it. I've had one on this podcast that we talked about the effects of PTSD, but I think it happens for all trauma, people that go through trauma and medical traumas as well. Because I can promise you that when like I said, I volunteer in the hospital a lot. There's times when it comes back to me and rushes back to me like I'm right back in that room with those people. It helps me be a little more empathetic when I'm there because I do know exactly what they're going through. But it is strange. It is strange how that is. The smells and just the certain things that bring you right back to that moment like you never left it.
Yes. And I think that's like something like God is teaching me to like, okay, I brought you through this. Like now it's your turn to like try to help other people. So it's like when you're feeling that in that moment, you got to put yourself aside and just bring the Jesus in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of, you're very busy, but there are a lot of, and I probably should have done a little research, but maybe I can do that and kind of tag it. And we've been looking at new things for the Broken Road Project. Obviously, when I started this, the goal was to focus on traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, and stroke. But as time's going on, I've realized that even having you on today, how important that is. And, I'm really limiting the outreach. And I really think there's a lot of people that need to tell their story. I kind of lost my train of thought, but there are resources out there, and there's probably people that want to be able to help too. So what you're doing is important. today and speaking out and doing God's work. And I think that's why we get to some of us get to survive something that some people don't.
Right.
Um, I know why I'm here, but try to put that on a bigger scale and put rhyme and reason to that. There really isn't. Just got to have faith that there was a reason why that person didn't make it, and the reason why I'm still here. But okay, I know what I was going to. I kind of got thrown off there. So Baylor All Saints is kind of the top tier for what I'm doing right now in the peer mentorship program. That's where I go and check in with their volunteer resources and kind of just go through their training and get updated when things are going in. That's my main check-in. But my main place that I go and work is up at the Baylor off of their inpatient rehab and their day neuro program off Harris Parkway. But I'm sure for others that are looking for something to do and use their time volunteering, that there are a ton of resources out there that I'm just mentioning them because I'm sure they have a wing as well. So for anybody that's wanting to get out there and try to help, that's an option for them. There's ways to do that. And I think it's part of your recovery as well to be able to get out and do that. In my recovery, to get out and help people, it's really almost easier to go help somebody else than it is to handle my own things some days.
Yeah, and right now I'm walking alongside a lady that is going through breast cancer. And so it's nice that God is using me, and I hate that she's going through this, but it's nice that I can give her the resources that I had during treatment. So I'm like, text me if you need anything, because it's different whenever somebody like your friend that's never gone through anything like this. It's like, let me know if you need anything. Well, you don't know what I need. Like, I don't know what I need, but somebody that went through this can be like, well, let me guide you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think you've probably already seen too, it's really hard we did the same thing, but it's hard for people to accept your help too. I give my number out directly to people a lot that are going through some hard times that I meet. And I get to meet them firsthand and probably some of the worst times of their life. But I have to be very intentional. Some fall through the cracks. I can't do everything by myself. But I am intentional about sending messages and just reminding them that they're not alone. Hey, I'm still out here floating, if you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Just not being too pushy where it's like, oh my gosh, this person is overwhelming me.
Yeah.
Like, I usually try to wait. Like, I'll message him like, hey, like encouragement, like I'm here for you. But if I don't hear anything, I'm not going to keep going back, because that was one thing that people did to me, which I'm thankful they did now. But at the time I was like, I just need like a little time to process all this. So I think it's good that we have a healthy boundary of whenever we're trying to help people, because sometimes people just don't want it. And so we just got to, pray behind the scenes for this.
No, absolutely. And I think that's a good way to do it. But I also don't think for me, maybe I am that pushy guy, but, I don't necessarily ask, do you need anything or do you want anything? I just find a verse or something that I feel like they need to hear that day, and I pray daily for that, and to be guided on how to help the people that have been put in my path. And everybody's a little different on their journey and what they will accept and won't. But I agree. Yeah, I mean, you can be too pushy. I just try to make sure mine's a once a week thing on the people that do. Once a week, even if I don't talk to them, I found some kind of something motivational I can send to them, just to remind them I'm still there. All that, and then if it goes radio silent for a while, then I do kind of I get a little pushy. Because I remember being that way myself. Man, I just wanted to, Amber knows, and I've said it probably even here, but I wanted to just fall asleep and wake up and it was gone. It's over. So people that were trying to help me were a constant reminder that I was sick. And that I wasn't getting better anytime soon, and that I was going to have to push through this deal,
Yes.
which made it even. I mean, during that time, it sucked.
It's like you have the option of either getting up and fighting, and like my thing is like I had to get up and fight for my kids, like
Absolutely.
and so regardless how I felt that morning, like I would still have to just get up and push through. And being in scripture and worship like just helped so much. Like it would just ease the fear and worry away of, I just don't want to be here today. Like, so I'd listen to some songs or get in my Bible or get on my my Bible podcast thing and just listen to it. And it would just always be like the words I needed to hear that day.
Yeah, without going it. I mean, that pretty much answers that for anybody. But I do know that it gets emotional talking about the kids. That's hard for me too. It's hard when you look at them and you're like, man, I mean, it motivates you. You're like, I got to get through this. I got to them. But then you also still think, you're like, oh, what if I don't make it? And what are they going to do without me and all the people? And so it can be a bad place to be. It's an understandable thing. That's just, but it's a hard thing, and you definitely don't want to stay there in that spot.
My motivation too was like, I got to get up so I can go, see their sport or their activity. There was a day that like I had chemo on one of Bradley's football games, and I was like, I'm going to his game. And I was like, no, you're not. You're probably not going to feel good. I'm like, I'm going. And thankfully, like I felt well enough to go. Like it was just super like meaningful that I was like, had very minimal side effects that day, so I could be there.
And I'm sure that was an inspiration for people. That's the other thing is, whether you realize it or not, you're a walking inspiration daily. And during that time, you probably were as well, maybe. And today, I mean, anybody that knows your story sees a resilience in you, and how well you're doing. I mean, that's an amazing story.
It is.
Of God's grace, of your resilience and your drive, of new therapies and ways that you took care of yourself that were not necessarily the status quo.
And it's not like my story. It's just like all from God. Like it's just He placed this on me. So I don't ever want to take like credit for my story because God gave me this story.
Absolutely, that's awesome. You got anything else you want to go over today?
Think so.
No, man, it's really cool having you on.
Thanks for having me on.
I know that some of that stuff's pretty hard to go through again, but man, it's so good for others to hear it. And it's the whole goal is for other people to know they're not alone in this journey. Hopefully show them Christ through our lives and what He's done for us and how good it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep almost wanting to wrap it up, but then I think of something else, for me, even now, when I'm talking to people, I try to explain to them the peace I do have. It's not always there. I mean, I do have those days. I have to be pretty resilient in prayer to make sure that the enemy's not trying to knock me down. I gave my mom a book that I read. I recommend it to anybody. Don't give this enemy a seat at the table.
Yeah, I've read
it's
that
got
one.
a bright yellow cover. And when I get it back, I'll probably leave it in here somewhere in the background. But I like to look at that, and I did until I gave her that copy. I'm probably saying to get another one. But I'll leave it sitting there just as a reminder. But the peace that I do have, I never had that before. And even after going through what I went through, that I never had experienced anything like that, I still was far from being at peace. So, God's grace, my Christianity has given me all a different level of peace in what I'm going through and what I'm supposed to do.
For sure.
I recommend that to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, without that, like, we don't have anything, like, without Christ. So it's like, if you don't have Him, then the devil is just going to be in your head constantly, and you're never going to feel like you're good enough. Your joy's always going to get stolen. Like, you're just not going to feel the peace you have with Christ.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in today, Colby.
Yeah,
It's
you're
awesome.
welcome.
Yep. I guess we'll check in next time. Thanks for tuning in.